Would you please pray with me? Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. When something happens in life, who likes to have an answer on why it happened? Like when something bad happens, you want to know like what the cause was so you can make sure it doesn't happen again, right? When things go well, you want to know what happened so you can recreate them and make them happen again. We like answers. We live in a culture that likes answers. For the last couple hundred years, we've developed things like scientific method and processes for figuring things out. We explain away everything. When something bad happens on TV, like when some insane guy shoots up a church in the Carolinas, we have to get into his psychological profile and try explaining why this evil could possibly exist. So we know. We like to explain things. We like answers, don't we? I do. The problem is, that's not really how things are often. There's a story in the Old Testament called Job. We heard the end of it this morning. I don't know if you were paying attention to that first reading from Job. Did you hear that? Do you know how we got to that point in the story? Do you know the story of Job? So first of all, this is one of these stories that's not like this didn't actually happen. Like if someone starts telling you something like, hey, I want to tell you a story about these two guys walked into a bar. You kind of know that's code language for what's coming isn't real. It didn't really happen. This is the story of Job. It starts out with language to the effect of God and Satan were hanging out together, and God said to Satan. I mean, it's language that we know didn't actually happen, but rather this is a story to make some points to us. It's like when we read about animals that talk. We know animals don't really talk. There must be some other point to be made. So this great, rich story of Job is about this guy who comes between God and Satan. And Satan kind of says, you think everybody loves you so much, God? Well, there's this guy, Job. He's got it all made. You take care of him perfectly. But if everything were to go bad, he'd give up on you in a hurry. And God says, no way, my friend, not my boy Job. He'd never give up on me. And so God says, go ahead, Satan, do your thing. See what you can do to this Job guy. And it all goes bad. The story even tells us that Job has everything. He's got like a wife, family, big family. He's got all the livestock, all the property, like everything that was important in that day in the Jewish culture. And so Satan takes it all away from him in this story. He loses his stuff. He loses his property. He loses his family. Like his house collapses and kills his family. He loses his own health. He starts getting sores all over him. And he's miserable and he's angry and he cries out. And then he has these three friends that come to him. These friends are the best. They have great ways of understanding what's going on with Job. They're like, Job, if you just prayed a little harder, it'll all be better for you, man. They're like, Job, yeah, if you weren't so mean about God and so spiteful, God would like you a lot more. Or, Job, you just aren't a good enough person. You thought you were so good, but you're not. I mean, so these guys offer him all this bad advice. And Job gets angry, like any of us would. And Job says some of these things to God. And so I'm reading out of the Message Bible. Have you ever looked at the Message Bible written by Eugene Peterson? It's a great kind of translation on these words. Let's see if I can find my bookmark about what Job said. Yes, here it is. Maybe you have thought these words when things have gotten bad in your life. Job says, among many things, what did I do to deserve this, God? Did I ever hit anyone who is calling for help? Haven't I wept for those who live a hard life, been heartsick over the lot of the poor? But where did it get me? I expected good, but evil showed up. I looked for light, but darkness fell. My stomach's in a constant churning, never settles down. Each day confronts me with more suffering. I walk under a black cloud. The sun is gone. I stand in the congregation and protest. I howl with the jackals. I hoot with the owls. I'm black and blue all over, burning up with fever. My fiddle plays nothing but the blues. My mouth harp wails, laments. Have you been there? If you're shaking your head, no. Yeah, right. I don't believe you. Yeah, so we know Job's lot. We've not lost probably all of our family and our own health, all of our stuff. But we know bad things. And we cry out to God, where's the answer? Where are you in the midst of this? We want an answer. And here's God's reply. It's a lengthy one. When Job asks questions, God answers with questions. Out of a whirlwind, God speaks. Why do you confuse the issue? Why do you talk without knowing what you're talking about? Pull yourself together, Job. Up on your feet, stand tall. I have some questions for you. And I want some straight answers. Where were you when I created the earth? Tell me, since you know so much. Who decided on its size? Certainly you know that. Who came up with the blueprints and measurements? How was its foundation poured? Who set the cornerstone? While the morning stars sang in chorus and all the angels shouted praise, and who took charge of the ocean when it gushed forth like a baby from the womb? That was me. I wrapped it. I wrapped it in soft clouds and tucked it in safely at night. Then I made a playpen for it, a strong playpen, so it couldn't run loose. And I said, stay here. This is your place. Your wild tantrums are confined in this space. And if you, Job, ever ordered morning to get up and dawn to get to work, so you could seize earth like a blanket and shake out the wicked like cockroaches, as the sun brings everything to light, brings out all the colors and shapes, the cover of darkness is snatched from the wicked. They're caught in the very act. Have you ever gotten to the bottom of things? Explored the labyrinthine caves of the deep ocean? Do you know the first thing about death? Do you have one clue regarding death's dark mysteries? And do you have any idea how large this earth is? Speak up if you have even the beginning of an answer. Do you know where light comes from? Do you know where darkness lives? So you can take them by the hand and lead them from home when they get lost. Why? Of course, you know that. You've known them all your life, grown up in the same neighborhood with them, right? Have you ever traveled to where snow is made, seen the vault where hail is stockpiled, the arsenal of hail and snow that I keep in readiness for times of trouble and battle and war? Can you find your way to the place where the lightning is launched, or to the place where the wind never blows? Who do you suppose carves out canyons for the downpours of rain and charts the route of thunderstorms that bring water to unvisited fields, deserts no one ever lays eyes on, drenching the useless wastelands so they're carpeted with wildflowers and grass? And who do you think is the father of rain and dew, the mother of ice and frost? You don't for a minute imagine these marvels of weather just happen, do you? Can you catch the eye of the beautiful Pleiadian sisters? Or distract Orion from his hunt? Can you get Venus to look your way? Or get the Great Bear and her cubs to come out and play? Do you know the first thing about the sky's constellations and how they affect things on earth? Can you get the attention of the clouds and commission a shower of rain? Can you take charge of the lightning bolts and have them report to you for orders? Who do you think gave weather wisdom to the ibis and storm savvy to the rooster? Does anyone know enough to number all the clouds or tip over the rain barrels of heaven when the earth is cracked and dry and the ground baked hard as a brick? Can you teach the lioness to stalk her prey and satisfy the appetite of her cubs as they crouch in their den waiting hungrily in their cave? Or who sets out food for the ravens when their young cry to God, fluttering about because they have no food? Do you know the month when the mountain goats give birth? Have you ever watched a doe bear her fawn? Do you know how many months she is pregnant? Do you know the season of her delivery, when she crouches down and drops her offspring? Her young ones flourish and are soon on their own. They leave and they don't come back. Who do you think set the wild donkey free, opened the corral gates and let him go? I give him the whole wilderness to roam in, the rolling plains and wide open spaces. He laughs at his city cousins who are harnessed and harried. He's oblivious to the cries of teamsters. He grazes freely through the hills, nibbling anything that's green. Will the wild buffalo condescend to serve you? Volunteer to spend the night in your barn? Can you imagine hitching your plow to a buffalo and getting him to till your fields? He's hugely strong, yes, but could you trust him? Would you dare to turn the job over to him? You wouldn't for a minute depend on him, would you? To do what you said when you said it? The ostrich flaps her wings futilely, all those beautiful feathers but useless. She lays her egg on the hard ground, leaves them there in the dirt exposed to the weather. not caring that they might get stepped on or cracked or trampled by some wild animal. She's negligent with her young, as if they weren't even hers. She cares nothing about anything. She wasn't created very smart, that's for sure. Wasn't given her share of good sense, but when she runs, oh, how she runs, laughing, leaving horse and rider in the dust. Or are you the one who gave the horse his prowess and adorned him with a shimmering mane? Did you create him to prance proudly and strike terror with his royal snouts? He paws the ground fiercely, eager and spirited, and then charges into the fray. He laughs at danger, fearless. Doesn't shy away from the sword. The banging and the clanging and the quiver and lance, they don't faze him. He quivers with excitement at the trumpet blast and races off at a gallop. At the sound of the trumpet, he nighes mightily, smelling with excitement of battle from a long way off, catching the rolling thunder of the war cries. Was it through your know-how that the hawk learned to fly, soaring effortlessly in the thermal updrafts? Did you command the eagle's flight and teach her to build the nest at the heights, perfectly at home on the high cliff face, invulnerable on pinnacle and crag? From her perch she perches for prey, spies it at a great distance. Her young gorge themselves on carrion. Wherever there's a roadkill, you'll see her circling. Now, what do you have to say for yourself? Are you going to haul me, the mighty one, into court and press charges? For us modern people, probably not a very satisfying answer we get there from our dear Lord. There are no answers about why bad stuff happens. There's no happy endings, though this story does have Job getting back his wealth and a new family. And someone pointed that out this week in Bible study, and I said, if you had a family, would a new family ever replace it? There isn't a happy ending, but there is a hopeful ending, because God is God. And the beautiful thing about Job is he realizes that he was all wrong, and he repents. Another thing lost upon us, I think, in our modern world, saying we're sorry and trusting God. Doesn't make struggle go away, doesn't make the book of Job and all the bad stuff that happened go away, doesn't make friends that give us bad advice go away. But it is our reality. We live in this world of uncomfortability, of struggle and heartbreak. But we also have a God that's right there with us, a God that is God in the midst of all of it, and a God that knows why things are the way they are, and that has us in the end. Amen.